Welcome back. What's going down, guys? Welcome to the Connections Hub podcast, where I'm bringing on another guest that's going to be able to tell you more about their business and their expertise on how it can ultimately help you and your business grow. Now, who we got today is going to be my main man, Chris. And Chris is an expert when it comes to systems and customer satisfaction. But I'm not going to take away his shine, and I really, really, really want you guys to meet him. So, Chris, go ahead and tell the audience who you are, what you do.
Listen, John, I'm so grateful for being on this podcast. I'll just jump straight into it. For the last 25 years, I've worked in manufacturing and quality. My background is mechanical engineering, but I've been working in industry in manufacturing for 20 something years. I've been in factories all over the world, right? My expertise is in quality, in mechanical and manufacturing engineering. And, so what drove me into what I do now is because with my expertise, I saw so many businesses in our communities that I believe were not succeeding. And one of the reasons because of a lack of customer service and customer satisfaction. So I saw a need for me to take what I know, right, and what I've helped other businesses to do and help for their customers to be happy and drive sales, right, and being able to do that for the businesses in our communities.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm super excited that you seen that gap, because it's definitely a gap, and I'm glad you brought that up, and we can jump right into things. And in the guests also too, if you are in any of the chats, it's going through my head like crazy, but make sure you guys can hear it. So we was having some technical difficulties, and it sounded like we about to have a really, really fire podcast. So I want to make sure that we got sound. So if you listening from wherever, let us know, hey, I can hear you guys. Keep pulling that fire. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. But I'm going to have it on God's hands right now and trust that everything is being recorded. But I want to jump right into it. Chris. So I was on a panel not too long ago, and that was one of the questions that the audience had. They said, how does a business sustain? Most businesses, let's start from the top. They might have already been in business. They started growing really, really crazy and really, really fast. But now is when they need that customer satisfaction systems implementation within their business. So at what stage in a company's business do you feel like they need to start implementing systems within it?
I love this question. From stage zero. So my dream client to work with, right, is somebody who they're drawing up the plans, they're ready to go into business, they haven't started yet, right? And they're putting that business plan together, because what I'm big on is helping them to develop a customer satisfaction plan or building a customer satisfaction plan into their business plan. But that doesn't happen 9 out of 10 times or 10 out of 10 times, right? We get an idea, we fall in love with what we want, right? What we love to do, and we jump in and we start doing it. And oftentimes we don't think about the needs of the customer or evaluate our business for how the decisions we make. If you're a brick and mortar, you're making a decision as to, well, I'm going to locate my business at this address, right? That has an impact on the customer. The location that you pick, the parking, how easy is it to get to? Every decision that you make as a business owner, it ultimately is going to impact the customer. So if I had my choice, I'd love to be in their head, even as they're formulating their business plan, so that they can build customer satisfaction into their plan. But that's usually not the case. So oftentimes we got to backtrack, right, and dig into how they've already set up their business to evaluate, well, how do your operations, all these things that you do, decisions that you made, how does it ultimately impact the customer, and either make changes or find a way to fix it when, because this is life, right? Things are gonna go wrong. That's another thing. My whole philosophy is, well, let's identify what's going to go wrong and let's address it in advance. So I'll pause there.
That's really good. And that brings me to really two questions. One, a statement rather. I would have never thought to have someone involved when it comes to something like you're saying, as important as hey, is this even a good area for my customer? Is this somewhere where I want to be? Or hey, are these implements,
Yep.
or these those small things that you're not even thinking about, the parking lot, things like that, where it's not, you're
Mhm.
thinking about it, but it doesn't seem like that big of an issue. It just seems like, kind of one of those things that if it comes up, it does, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. So having someone like yourself in on that process, I can definitely see the benefit. But I wanted to ask, when it comes to customer satisfaction and just the services that you offer, like in just a brief way where our listeners can just fully understand, what does that really entail? Like, what does that really entail? When do I need to call you, Chris?
And you cut out on your last word.
I said, what does it entail? Like, when would customer satisfaction, exactly what does that entail when it comes to the services that you're providing for a customer?
Okay. So I'm gonna repeat the
There you go.
questions to make sure I didn't. So you're asking, what does it entail to come up with a plan for customer satisfaction?
Essentially, so you're mentioning customer satisfaction, but from someone that might not be familiar with the industry,
Yeah. Yeah.
what is that exactly?
Okay, good, good. So yeah, that's a good. So really, it's everything in your business that impacts the customer. And the best way to know what it entails is the process that I say is walk through your business and your process and take off your from the eyes of the customer, right? So whether you're brick and mortar or you're an online business, there's a customer journey, right? That the customer goes through. How did they come to you? How did they find out about you? Your website, or someone referred them, or they walked, it's brick and mortar, and they walked in the front door, right? And walk through that, go along that customer journey, and just observe all the different touch points and interactions that both you and your staff has with that customer. All those little things are things that impacts the customer. And like I said, you can identify those areas where things can go wrong. So it's really, let's say if you're a chef, right? You're building out a restaurant. The food, right? The food, that's the easy one. Like, if you don't have good food, you shouldn't even be in business. So
Right.
that's usually not the biggest problem from that standpoint. But what about all those other things and those other decisions? The packaging that you're using, your menu, the way you're presenting it to the folks. So
Wow.
again, not to sound mean, but really every decision you make, because ultimately it's about the customer, right? So you've got to, but it's easy to say, and I say, what I always say is, people, it's common sense, right? Customer service, it's common sense. Everybody will tell you, oh, it's a great thing and it should be done. But the question is it common practice? Are
Hmm.
you are you doing, what are you doing? Not just talking about it, but what are you actually doing in your business? What policies, what procedures, what training, what do you have going on behind the scenes? What are you talking to your employees about? What information are you providing to them? Tangible, real stuff, not fluffy words,
Right.
not what you put on your website and what you put on the side of a van.
Right.
Or, customers, we love our customers and all that stuff. It's great. It sounds great. But what tangible actions are you doing in the background to ensure that that's coming through in your operations and how you do stuff?
Right. And that's really good. So what would you say a business owner, what's the one, let's say the top three probably most common sense or common practice things that you would think would be in place in a business that usually aren't?
You know what? The easy one and one we all see is training. Training,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
So you walk into a place, right, and you get a bad interaction from an employee, right?
Right.
They the way in which they talk to you, or so on. But you know what? I never blame first the employee, because I say, either you have to set the right expectation as the owner, right?
Right.
You have to have how you want things done, scripted out, documented, and then you got to train those people, and then you got to set the expectations. This is how I want it done, and then you got to, what I say is, you got to inspect what you expect.
Huh.
So then you follow up and make sure that they're doing it, especially when you're not there, because that's when things kind of fall apart, right? When people think you're not watching. But we got so many ways. We got the cameras, we got surveys,
That's what
we
I was
got
gonna
people that
ask
can
you.
come in.
Are the business owners
Yeah,
really
all
watching
that
on the
stuff.
cameras? Is that a thing where I'm watching
It,
my employees on the camera when I'm not there? Is that a thing?
listen, it's a thing, but listen, but for good and for bad,
Okay.
for good and bad,
Okay. Okay.
because you could use that, and I talk about this in my book. You can use that information to praise people. Hey, listen, you did a great job. Here's an example for training. Here's how you should be doing. It's not always bad. Customers, it's not always bashing and beating up, right? It's the what they say is the carrot and the stick. You
Right.
got to use both, right? You
No,
got to
no,
use
no. I
both.
like how you did that. I do.
Yeah,
I'm a content strategist, so I'm all about content. So that is a
yeah,
really good way to get some content that you're already recording for the good, with showing
yeah.
what's happening or what's going on with the employees when it comes to praise. So that makes a lot of sense. Within
Yeah.
that. So what would you say something else would be? Of course, we got the training, and just to touch on that one more. Every time when people say training, the first thing they say is Chick-fil-A. What do you think about Chick-fil-A and just that whole system process and the way they do business ultimately?
I love it. There's companies that are some companies that they just stand out. Chick-fil-A, Starbucks,
Yeah,
Nordstrom.
yeah,
I could list a few. Love them or not, Amazon,
yeah.
right? In terms
Amazon,
of
yeah,
customer service, right?
yes,
Because, and you know why? It's not, and here's my whole point. It's not happening by accident. It's not happening by accident. They have the training, but the training is like the last thing. They have everything. They're hiring, right? They're looking and they're hiring the right people, right? They have the processes in place that are customer focused, and then they have a plan and they're training people and they're following up. So it's everything. It's really everything. And but those companies that I mentioned, like I said, it doesn't happen by accident. They actively, because they understand the value of customer service, that it drops to the bottom line. And the challenge I always have is that, like I said, I keep saying people speak, they give what I call lip service to customer service, right? They say it's great, it's a wonderful thing. Yeah, but are you ready to put your money where your mouth is and ensure that your people are you're empowering them to have the tools so that they can execute the way you're prescribing. So, and those companies are definitely doing that. And there's no reason why small businesses, whether you're a small business, brick and mortar, or you're an online business, you're a coach, you're a trainer, right? It's a little different. You don't have a physical door to walk through to walk along that customer journey, but you could still take that journey online, right? And follow that customer flow. And again, look at it from, here's the challenge, is always looking at it from the customer's perspective. A lot of times as owners, it's hard. It sounds easy, but it is not. When your money's tied up, right? And your emotions, and you've borrowed tens of thousands of dollars from your family, and they're looking at you with a side eye, talking about, when am I, you never hear. When you have all that baggage going on, it's very hard sometimes. But and maybe you gotta bring somebody in. Hey, by the way, I'm right here, right? Maybe you gotta bring, maybe you gotta bring somebody in to do that, to help you to look at what you're doing from the customer perspective, because it's only then that you're going to be identify things that, and it might be stuff that you see it every day, you don't think about it, but again, because you're blinded, because you got that, like I said, you're the owner, you got so much vested that you don't really can't emotionally detach to be able to look at what you're doing from their vantage point, and so that you could make improvements.
Right. And I talk about that a lot with my
Mhm.
clients as well when it comes to you're too close to the business sometimes to see
Yep.
the things that somebody else sees from their eye
Yep.
because it's not my business.
Yep.
So that same emotional attachment that you might have with it is not
Yes.
associated with me. So it's easier for me to make decisions and let you know this is what you need to do. It's just on about you trusting the expert and actually getting it done. So that's good. But I wanted you to touch on what are some things that business owners that only operate online can do. So they
Mhm.
don't necessarily have the training issues per se with
Yep.
with their employees. They operate all online.
Yeah. The biggest thing, and we know online lives and dies by reviews, right?
Right.
Lives and dies by reviews. So you have to have a process to make sure that you are addressing every review, right? Especially the bad ones, right? People, and there's a little bit of a skill to doing that, but you got to be able to, you know, you look at you first of all know what they are. So a lot of owners, people that own businesses, they're not even checking for the reviews.
Right.
They don't even know that people are reviewing them on on Google review or on the various, and I know it changes all the time, and they're like, oh, I can't keep up, right? Because there's always they're reviewing you on Facebook and they're reviewing you on Instagram, you. But you know what? The point is that it's your reputation, so you have to go out there, find the information. I mean, just Google it, right? Or set up a Google alert. One of the things I do for my set up a Google alert for your business name, so that anytime somebody makes mention of your business online, you'll get an alert, right? But you got to know, and you got to have a process. And if your business is thriving, and as the owner you can't handle that, then that's where you might need somebody else to, it might be your little cousin or your nephew, somebody is savvy, right? But somebody needs to be aware of what's going on, what people are saying about you online and your reviews, and you got to make sure you have a way to address them expeditiously.
And would you say, or do you feel, is there something that a business owner could do to maybe come back? Maybe they haven't had a great online presence, but they've changed,
Yep.
they've, revamped some things.
Yep.
What are some things they can do in order to get back online in a positive manner?
You just got to address each one as they come up, right? You got to address each one. If somebody says something negative, first of all, read it, right? Know what the complaint is. Don't just automatically jump to, well, make an excuse. Well, this and that, and you were nasty to me. All that doesn't matter. People forget the most important thing about a review is not even the customer who made the review, is the next customer who's going to read that review.
Oh,
right?
that's good.
And so it doesn't matter if the person was wrong, if they lied, it's irrelevant. What you want to do is you want to show that, okay, you addressed the issue, right? We did something about it. And so that next person, they could see through if somebody's lying and fake.
Yeah, you
People
can
are
tell
gonna
a fake
see
review. You can tell a
Yeah,
fake review.
people are
Even
gonna
I
see
look at
through
it.
that.
Yeah.
But if you're just going back at the person, nobody,
Yeah.
I'm like, they got too much drama. I'm not even gonna bother with this. I'm just gonna move on. But so the biggest thing is just addressing them one by one, just starting addressing them and showing people that you're taking care of the issue. Yeah, but the first step is just addressing them and showing people that you're taking care of your business and your customers. But that reviews online, we live and die by reviews, and you want to, especially the bad ones. Those are ones you definitely want to take care of, and do it quickly.
But I was on a review, and this is what I don't like, because I seen this a lot with apartments when I was apartment hunting, and maybe I don't know if they got somebody like you on the team. I know your company ain't doing this, but it's annoying.
Mhm.
When you leave a review, they would leave just a generic comment, and you could tell everybody's comment was the same. They'll be like, everybody like, saying whatever. It can be good. It can be really, they only do the bad. The bad ones, they'll leave something generic like, oh, sorry you had that, come to the office. Or like, it's literally that type of same review on everybody post.
Yep.
So I know they aren't
Yep.
paying attention or necessarily looking at it. So when it comes to that aspect, is that something, or is that like, do I have to worry about that if I'm hiring a company like yours? Like, speaking just off the record, or do you feel like that's something more internal? Because that's one thing I do find when it comes to outsourcing sometimes the customer service online, it loses that personal company touch. So what would you say about that?
I think they're so important that you need to have a personal touch and really address the specific thing, not a generic cut and paste answer, but an answer that shows that because you're gonna, again, people want to see that you read what they said and you're answering what they said and you're addressing it. It doesn't take that much time. And if it maybe just means you need help, you need somebody else to do that, but it has to be has to be,
No, I'm saying,
specific,
like, what if it
you
was
know?
somebody else doing that, like another company? Like, is that a known practice in the, like, if that was another company,
Oh,
like
where
like
somebody
when I'm
else just,
outsourcing this, yeah, like if I'm outsourcing this to
yes,
your
yes,
company, how am I making sure I'm keeping that personal touch when it comes to my
yeah,
brand, and it isn't
yeah,
coming off like it's
yeah,
just hired out work?
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's tough, but the bottom line is the review has to be real, right? So if it's that, if it's going to be another outsourced company, maybe they need to check in with the owner and say, hey, by the way, I'm about to answer this review. They said this, A happened and B happened. Did it, was it a direct, like they might have to touch base back with that owner to find out, how do I answer this in reality, not like it cannot be just a, okay, I'm gonna have 10 cut and paste things in my spreadsheet that every time somebody sends a review, I'm just gonna copy it and paste it and copy and paste it. I just think that's not good practice, and that eventually, that person, like, you didn't even read, you didn't even reply to what I said. You're talking about something that has nothing to do with what I replied. So I hope that answered your question. I just think it has to be relevant. So if the owner is not the one answering the review, I think this is where you were getting at.
Mhm.
If the owner's not the one answering the review, then the person needs to go back to the source of the complaint and address it. It has to be addressed. It can't be a generic answer. So maybe sometimes it means that you can't or you shouldn't outsource it. And the owner should be, reviews, you got to stay close to those, because again, that is your reputation. That's permanent. It's out there. I don't believe in the cut and paste. And I know as business owners, you can't do everything, right? But if you're not doing it, then the person doing it needs to be able to get to the answer, get to the real answer, and then provide that back to the provide that back to the reviewer.
No, and
So
that makes a lot of sense. And I got
yep.
one more hard one for you. One more hard one. Well, it's easy
Okay,
for
bring it, bring
hard for
it.
me, easy for you.
Yep.
What is a system of the sort that you would say, if I've, let's say I've been in business, I'm maybe 2 years, 3 years or so, I'm making sales, but it's not just hectic crazy, and I'm able to like kind of monitor everything that's going on when it comes to the customer satisfaction right now. What are maybe one or two of the first systems someone should start putting in place or implementing in place? Again, if they're operating, let's say online, because I know a lot of our viewers are online coaches, speakers, service-based businesses, and even some product-based.
Mhm. Okay, good question. I think you stole my. I think I would have given the reviews for that answer if I had gotten
I
that.
figured
But I
that
think
one.
in addition, no, in addition to reviews, I mean, the biggest thing is product quality. I mean, I don't talk about product quality a lot, because I assume, and you should never assume, but that's foundational, product quality. So whatever product or service you're providing, right? If you're saying that I'm going to deliver these benefits, right? You got to be delivering those benefits.
Right.
And I think that is the foundation. So if you're, I'm trying to think of it. If you're a coach and you're saying, and you're making promises that you're going to deliver, these modules of the course, and you're going to, you got to deliver on those. And so, like I said, the reason I don't talk about those a lot is because, not assuming, but I know that those you have to be delivering on whatever it is that you're claiming and you're purporting to that your product or service has. So that's one of the first things that you're making sure that the quality of your products is living up to, the standard that you're claiming that it is.
Is that something that you're able to am I able to hire you and your company and you guys help with that, or is that something that you would prefer someone already have together before they come work with you when it comes to
That's a
product
great question.
quality?
So, so my background, I'm a quality engineer, right? Mechanical engineer, quality engineer for the last 20 something years. I've worked in the cosmetics industry. I've worked in several different industries. And And what I love about quality is it doesn't matter the business, quality is the same mindset. So whether it's a product or whether it's a service, right? It's a matter of, okay, what are the expectations that this customer has, or what are the legal requirements, or, if it's a food, right? I see one of my friends on here, Chef Mom, she's a chef, right? So if you're cooking food and you're promising it's going to taste this way and it's going to look like that, and so on, then you got to be able to evaluate your product against what you're saying that you're going to deliver, and making sure. And it's ideal that you do that, have a way to do that before the customer gets it. So food is easy. If I have a great story. So I remember I have this story in my book. There's a friend of mine that complained. You ever watch on TV? They have these Red Lobster commercials, and you see the lobster splashing in the butter, and it looks like it looks so juicy. This person went to Red Lobster. They had some commercials, some special, and they went. And when they got there, they were so pissed because the little tiny pieces of lobster that they got as compared to the commercial, right? They never went back. They said, you know what, I'm never, and they weren't the only one. Other people complained about the same thing. So that's an example where, if you're making a claim, if you're saying, I'm going to do this, my food is going to look like this or taste like this, or my coaching business is going to deliver this, you have to make sure that you're delivering on your promise. That's foundational for before you get to any of the other stuff, which is like icing on the cake.
No, for sure, for sure, for sure. So, Chris, that's really all I have for you. You gave us so much, and I don't want to overload the audience. And I can tell that really, at the end of the day, you have to start at the core of just the customer when it comes to all points of the customer, thinking about the smallest things, but everything always reverts to how would the customer feel? Would the customer
Yep.
like this? Would the customer
Yep.
purchase this? Does this live up to my integrity, my standards, what it is that I'm marketing, what it is I'm promoting, and things of that nature? So it all boils down to the customer at the end of the day. But I would love for everybody to know, where can we find you or learn more about your services, and maybe outsource some of our reviews to you?
Yeah. So the best way to reach me, if you go to my link tree. So if you go to linktr.ee/customer satisfaction services, right? So that's customer satisfaction services, plural. If you find a link tree for that, there you could connect with me and everything. So you could find one of the main. So I have actually a free ebook, right? It's called The Top 5 Killers of Customer Satisfaction. And it really just kind of boils it down into what are some of the top 5 things that people need to make sure they have control over if they want to be able to guarantee customer satisfaction. You could find that on my link tree, my book, my handles for Instagram and IG and LinkedIn and so on. You could all find it there at linktree/customer satisfaction services. You can find me there.
Okay, cool. And of course, Chris will be tagged in all the descriptions, so you'll be able to go straight to his link tree and find out more information. But thank you so much, Chris, for putting us on game about how we need to handle our customer interactions. Now, everything at the end of the day boils down to how the customer feel, how they like it, and ultimately it's all about them if we're looking to grow. I think we can agree on that's ultimately where we're at when it comes to it. Oh, and have some really bomb reviews. Watch your reviews.
Yes.
Watch out for your reviews.
Yes.
Watch out for your reviews. But if there's nothing else from you, Chris, I really want to thank you for being on the show. And that's going to be all. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next episode.
Peace. Thank you, Jha.
Looking in 1 second.